have time to read part of this. It's a story I'm working on called Box Set, and the part of it that relates to the theme of tonight is unfortunately in the second half of the story. So we'll just call it Box Kite. Okay. 3 questions typically recur in the visitor's thoughts as he approaches the city street where he has parked his car earlier that evening. A, is the car still there? B, has it been broken into? C, has it been ticketed? This last question, item C, is particularly worrisome if the curb along which the car was parked displays more than one color. A faded red, for instance, with traces of green, and mostly but not entirely painted over with gray. The transformation of a no parking zone back into one where parking is permitted is normally accomplished with gray paint. The fact that no single color covers the curb suggests disturbing possibilities. A, the curb may have been painted over, not by a public official, but by a private citizen with an insufficient amount of paint. B, the gray curb may have been painted over by a public official with an inferior brand of red paint, which has since partially worn off. What appears to be light gray paint may in direct sunlight reveal itself to be sullied white. In any of these scenarios, permission to park in the space signified by the gray paint is rescinded and the vehicle is subject to citation, towing, or both. The fact that this spot has been used in the past without incident provides little reassurance. Escaping punishment by chance does not negate the law in question. It is unreasonable to expect each subsequent violation to go undetected. Certain physical symptoms accompany this line of thought. 1, a steady intensification as opposed to quickening of the pulse. 2, an unnatural warmth in areas of the forehead and neck, accompanied by traces of perspiration. 3, slight buzzing in the left ear. By focusing the mind and contracting certain muscles in the eyes, chest, plexus, and lower legs, symptoms may be abated to a degree. Discomfort associated with an undisclosed future may be mitigated by reinvigorated attention to present details. The rectangular silver buckles on your date's shoes, the unusually large aggregate visible in the pavement, the syncopation of your gait with that of your date's, and so on. As the form of your car emerges, apparently unchanged, from the row of parked cars at the end of the narrow street, your date utters a sound much like a stifled laugh, except that it is not stifled, but rather amplified, and not a laugh so much as a clearing of the throat. I love the rear end on that thing, she says, or words to that effect. She refers to the large rectangular hatch on the back of your vehicle, which allows for the entire back end to open up. Your date has used the term rear end in other associated expressions, such as kick in the butt and boss assed, in 23 instances over the course of the evening. In at least 19 of these instances, the term or expression associated with the human posterior seem to be used in a positive sense. If this indicates a generally posterior positive outlook on the part of the date, then it follows that she may expect positive attention and comments directed at her own posterior. Thus, the expectation of subsequent physical contact may arise. In what ways may contact first be initiated? 1, a soft application of the exterior portion of the hand, for example, the knuckles, against the left side of the posterior in a motion consistent with accidental grazing while walking. 2, direct application of palm to left side of the posterior conforming to the curve of the cheek. 3, a sharp application of the flattened palm and fingers across the central portion of the posterior, angled to produce maximum noise with minimal tactile sensation. The anxiety produced by consideration of the above options may be mitigated using the techniques outlined earlier. Again, attention to immediate details are key. If your date asks if you intend to leave her standing on the curb all night, your date asks if you intend to leave her standing on the curb all night, this remark communicates her expectation that the passenger door will be unlocked and opened before any other door in the vehicle is unlocked and opened. A small device on the keychain deactivates the alarm and unlocks the door, but opening the door requires that you come around the front of the vehicle to the passenger side. Typical man, she says, in an apparent reference to this oversight on your part. She places a hand against the side of your face. She then moves the hands so that it takes hold of your chin. Her mouth contracts horizontally while simultaneously the lips rise up and away from the rest of her face. She produces a clicking noise with the tongue, much like the sound normally associated with the letter T. Does this act signify A, affection in anticipation of sexual contact? B, sarcasm and amusement at the implicit prospect of sexual contact? Or C, a struggle between sarcasm and sexual interest that will be decided in the next 30 seconds based upon your actions you may or may not take? The date remarks on the feeling of strength suggested by the jaw, which is termed square, but is not a true square. This statement may be subject to the same analysis outlined above. Moisture is perceived gathering under the arms and on the neck at the base of the head. The door swings open and the date gains entry to the vehicle. In a matter of a few seconds, your date makes a number of statements and questions with regard to the vehicle, namely, 1, the exceptional cleanliness of the interior. 2, the possibility that the vehicle has been purchased within the last 30 days. 3, the smell of disinfectant. 4, the absence of a radio and related devices capable of playing pre-recorded music. Careful deliberation yields the remarkable conclusion that only the last point needs to be addressed. The other statements and questions constitute only a kind of noise, random fluctuations in the stream of conversation. You describe to your date the difficulty of selecting an appropriate sound system. The range of choices is baffling. New options become available every month. She then asks, when you acquired the vehicle? The answer, 5 years ago. Thank you so much for warming up. Again, she takes her chin in her palm and produces the clicking sound. In much the same tone employed to declare your chin square, your date now describes your face as straight. The car starts. Your date is not facing straight ahead, as is normal. Her face is instead angled partially in your direction. The eyes are open and do not blink. The eyebrows lift almost imperceptibly. Your pulse increases in both speed and intensity. The mechanism by which the pulse is thus affected is not well understood. The car moves forward. Your date employs an idiom that describes herself to be aging at an inappropriate rate. I'm getting old over here, or words to that effect. With a certainty approaching 90%, you interpret this remark as an oblique expression of impatience pertaining to the car's velocity. Your reaction to this information is delayed. There are now too many events in the queue to keep up with. It's really a sad story, actually. You ask her if she enjoyed the concert. You are unsure what prompts this question. It has no direct bearing on the problem at hand. Your date declares the music very enjoyable. She has never been in a symphony hall previously. Sitting in a box made her feel like a person in a film. This last statement confuses you. Does your date have a desire to act in a feature-length movie? You seek clarification. No, I meant a character in a movie, not an actress. You can recall a time when this kind of statement made sense to you. It may have been as recently as this afternoon. You recognize that to express confusion about this statement will in turn cause confusion, even distress, in your date. The fact that the vehicle is moving forward at greater and greater speeds is also confusing and stressful. Your hands look out of place on the steering wheel. The machine drives itself.